Wang Ling woke up one day with incredible powers that allowed him to control time and space. Despite his extraordinary abilities, all he really cared about was his love for ramen noodles. However, his peaceful life took a turn when a gigantic frog invaded his city and caused him to drop his precious ramen. In a single powerful stroke, Wang Ling defeated the formidable frog, but he decided to keep his powers a secret and live a normal life. On his first day of school, Wang Ling encountered two senior students who bullied him for being weak and demanded his money. Out of nowhere, a streak of fire appeared out of nowhere and knocked the bullies down. To his surprise, the hottest girl in school, Sun Rong, descended from the sky and scared the bullies away. After their departure, Sun Rong expressed her desire to always protect Wang Ling. But to everyone's surprise, he rejected her advance. Later that day, the principal gathered all the students for the entrance exam, which would determine their spirit force power. The students with the highest scores would be admitted to the elite class. The first student to take the exam was an ugly boy. As he entered the exam room and saw the giant frog, he stumbled backwards in fear. This frog was the same one that Wang Ling had defeated years ago. One by one, the students attempted the exam, but none could surpass a score of 900. Just when it seemed like no one would achieve a high score, Chen Chao appeared. He unleashed his dormant powers, channeling them into his fist, and struck the frog. Despite his efforts, Chen Chao was knocked away, but his score exceeded 900, granting him admission to the elite class. Finally, it was Sun Rong's turn. She fearlessly charged at the frog and managed to punch it away, becoming the first student to achieve a score over 2,000. Wang Ling was the last student to take the exam. He wanted to conceal his true power and appear ordinary. However, as soon as he stepped into the water, the frog recognized him and remembered the day Wang Ling had defeated it. When the leader of the mages attempted to attack him, Wang Ling effortlessly slapped him away and prepared to incinerate him. But just as he was about to unleash his full power, Wang Ling took a step towards the frog, using the wind from his kick to knock it out cold, interrupting his noodle-eating session. Wang Ling pretended to put in effort, but with a slight movement of his arms, he effortlessly disabled the frog. Despite not even touching it, Wang Ling's score was too high to be displayed on the screen. As the frog disintegrated, Sun realized something was odd. The examiner praised him for his admission to the elite class. During the first class, the teacher showcased the spirits they would summon from other dimensions using their force level. Chen Chao decided to show off his powers and summoned a cane toad that looked like it was summoned from Hello Kitty universe, after being mocked by everyone. Sun summoned a stray dog, curious about the power required for a real spirit beast. The teacher wondered why Wang Ling was sulking in the corner and allowed him to give it a try. However, when Wang Ling sensed the presence of aliens surrounding him, a massive explosion occurred, and the frog from the exam seemed puzzled by seeing Wang's face again. To protect everyone, the teacher directed Sun Rong's dog towards the frog, transforming it into a puppy. Sun Rong asked Wang Ling if he liked peanut butter. Knowing how this would unfold, Wang attempted to sneak out of class. After all, he had always been alone in his life. Even during his birth, his father witnessed the nurse leaving the delivery room in tears, but Wang defied death and emerged from his mother's womb like a confident boy. Every day, he would sit and read his parents' thoughts as they constantly lied to each other and burdened him with their arguments. In an effort to save their marriage, Wang Ling utilized his boundless intellect to consider the countless and limitless possibilities in the world and decided to piss himself in front of them. And that's how Wang's accidental act of wetting himself ended up saving his parents' marriage. As time went on, he discovered that he had the incredible ability to manipulate gravity. By the time he was 6 years old, he could already defeat powerful monsters. In response to his powers, his father conducted experiments on him until he created a secret seal to conceal Wang's limitless abilities. However, even with the seal, Wang still had trouble controlling his powers and would accidentally break things just by touching them. To help him, his mother would often give him special golden orbs to suppress his spiritual powers. His parents loved him dearly. They wanted to find a way for him to live a normal life. Simple tasks like blowing out birthday candles would result in disasters like burning the entire house down, and even his friends would get hurt just by touching him. After 10 years, Wang finally realized the struggles his parents had gone through to provide him with a good life. Until they could find a way to fully suppress his powers, he decided to avoid anything that would trigger his emotions, except for one thing: ramen noodles. One day at school, Wang Ling noticed that ramen noodles were on sale. A stranger bought all the noodles and offered to give them away in exchange for votes for Sun, a candidate running for class president. The guys in the class were upset that Sun would resort to such tactics for votes. However, Wang approached her and offered her 5 of his votes in exchange for 5 packs of ramen noodles. Sun was surprised that he was the only one willing to help her. Once the other guys saw that Wang had received the noodles, they realized they could also get free food by voting for her. However, Chen Chao vowed to defeat her. As everyone fell into Sun's trap, she used her art of seduction to control their minds. But she soon noticed that Wang was missing from the group. Wang Ling had only one thing left: the golden pill, which he wanted to give Sun Rong as a way of saying thank you for the noodles she had given him. When the class started, Sun noticed that Wang Ling was still not affected by her spell. She tried to overpower him, but he wondered if she had taken the pill. He signaled for her to give it back, but she misunderstood and thought he wanted her to consume it to increase her powers. She decided to eat it, and that's when he realized she was in trouble. Suddenly, her body felt like it was falling from the sky, and the spell of seduction was broken for everyone. The teacher called Sun to demonstrate her art of seduction. As she walked forward, she slipped on a can and almost fell. Wang Ling, wanting to show off, tried to help and kept her body steady, but then he remembered that he's never going to simp, and ended up dropping her, breaking the spell on everyone. Before class ended, the teacher announced that Chen Chao was the elected president of their grade. Later that night, Sun wondered why Wang had ruined her spell after supporting her at the shop. She wished he would leave her mind already. The next morning, Chen Chao bought a giant cauldron for a pill refinery test, hoping to impress Sun. However, his friend knew he was trying too hard. When Sun arrived in her limo, she had a whole band serenading her entrance and 30 bodyguards. With just one look, Wang could tell that he had seduced her. Using all his confidence, he brushed her face, defying the laws of physics and breaking the spell. Everyone pondered if this was the fresh technique the Red Pill Guru was practicing, and Sun felt overwhelmed after the Riz King incapacitated her ability to stand. During that day's class, the teacher swiftly explained the process of creating a golden pill, but none of the students knew how they would succeed. Chen Chao dug Wang's grave by metaphorically shoveling dirt, while Wang used a microwave to refine the ore directly. Hao wondered how he could compete, but showcased his own magical furnace. Once he was gone, the teacher informed them that they would have to wait 7 hours for the ores to finish refining. After leaving the classroom, Wang's dog was prepared to devour Hao's cauldron. Ling managed to intervene before anything happened, but when his frog leaped out the window, he attempted to chase after it. It was all part of his strategy to outmaneuver him. But as the frog turned around, he spotted Wang right behind him and pleaded for mercy. Meanwhile, Chen Chao was still running while crying because not only did he fail to win over a girl, but he also knew his father would punish him for destroying their sacred family heirloom and not securing first place. Wang departed with Hao's furnace, but Gua Hao questioned why he was attempting to steal it and aimed his paintball weapon at him. Wang assured him that he wasn't seeking any trouble, but Hao demanded an explanation before threatening to send him to another dimension. Just then, Chen Chao's sanity crumbled, and he imagined Sun sprinting towards Wang Ling. The demons within him erupted, labeling him as a pitiful and worthless loser. As his crush walked away with Wang, Chen became determined to eliminate the malevolence that kept them apart. Hao announced that it was the end for Wang and fired his toxic weapon, but Wang managed to evade it at the very last moment. Surprisingly, Chen, who was about to attack Wang, consumed all of Guo Hao's sticky substance like a complete loser. Suddenly, Hao began to scream in panic. They desperately attempted to pull Chen Chao's lifeless body back into the room, uncertain if he would survive after ingesting such a lethal poison. Knowing they could face expulsion, Hao pleaded with Wang to help him create an antidote. They gathered all the necessary ingredients and set the cauldron ablaze, setting a 4-hour timer. However, they soon realized that the instructor would return in just 2 hours, and to make matters worse, Froggy was attempting to devour the cauldron. Hao released his magical seal on Froggy to push him away. Upon inspecting the furnace, they discovered that Froggy's fire had unexpectedly accelerated the process. They decided to force Froggy into unleashing his powers. Wang Ling questioned why Froggy had concealed this ability, and Froggy explained that his power to manipulate timelines could potentially bring about the destruction of the world. Both Hao and Wang recognized the potential advantage of harnessing this power. Once the antidote was completed, they compelled the unfortunate dog to consume the poison as a test. They attempted to administer the pill to Chen, but Hao suddenly heard the approaching footsteps of the instructor. In a rush, he dashed outside to stall for time. However, the teacher was not willing to be delayed. As they entered the room, the teacher was prepared to determine whether the furnace had successfully refined any orbs. Hao begged her not to expel him, but she noticed that he had indeed refined one of the orbs. Hao realized that Wang Ling had sacrificed his own pill for the sake of their friendship. Just as this realization dawned on him, it was Wang's turn, and the teacher erupted in anger upon discovering that he had created an explosive. Witnessing how Wang had replaced Chen Chao's orb in the microwave and sacrificed his own for the sake of their friendship, Hao came to the profound realization that Wang was the greatest friend in the world. What he failed to realize, however, was that Wang had not actually done any of that. The pill had been present in the furnace all along, and they had unknowingly cooked it. By the time Chen woke up, he noticed that his furnace had been fixed, and Hao told him to express gratitude to Wang for his hard work, sparking a friendship between them all. After school the next day, Sun approached Wang. However, instead of being the huntress, she found herself being hunted. Without any hesitation, she asked Wang if he wanted to go on a date the following day. He stared at her with his usual expressionless face. Meanwhile, the hunters received the order to shoot Sun. But as soon as they fired, Wang deflected their shots effortlessly with a single gaze. The teacher called Wang out of the classroom. Simultaneously, the snipers decided to retreat upon their boss's command, and Froggy observed everything from a distance. Sun mistakenly believed that Wang had accepted her date invitation when he was actually responding to the teacher, so she got excited for the date tomorrow. The entire school wondered how Wang managed to attract someone as beautiful as Sun. Things were about to get intriguing at the office. The principal urgently dismissed the teacher, introducing himself as Zhou Yi, the man who witnessed Wang's ability to defeat the frog many years ago. He knelt down and pleaded with Wang to become his master, but Wang unleashed 50% of his magic of forgetting. When he was finally alone, Froggy informed him about the assassins. As he slept, he continued to have nightmares about Sun's crazy behavior. However, when he got out of bed, he spotted Sun waiting for him outside the window with her entire army. His parents were not usually open to such ideas, but they believed that their son would never bring home a girl, so they pleaded with him to bring protection. His father couldn't help but wonder how Wang was born if he always used protection, but his mother assured him that it wasn't necessary to worry about the details. On the phone, he saw his friends wishing him a great night without even realizing the true meaning behind their words. His parents pushed him out of the house, and Sun Rong assured him that he could do whatever he wanted in the back. The assassins continued to follow them, and Sun explained that she was taking him to the Heavenly Paradise Carnival. The entire castle was built for Sun to spend time with the one she loved, and she admitted that it was her first time visiting the place. Wang, however, couldn't help but wonder why he was stuck with her. Upon their arrival, Sun ordered all the guards to leave because Wang was stronger than all of them. However, just 5 minutes later, the assassins managed to neutralize all the guards. In front of a prophecy wall, Sun dragged Wang to discover the future of their relationship, and one of the assassins fired a bullet. In that moment, Wang slowed down time, caught the bullet with his mouth, and launched it back at the gun, sending the assassin flying. Sun couldn't help but wonder if he had some sort of neurological disorder, but Wang quickly used the neuralizer to erase her memory of the incident. The assassins were puzzled by the recoil of their guns as they glided across the steel, with Wang exploding the assassins who were following them. He accidentally caused all the logs to fall on top of them, and yet again used his magic to make Sun lose her memories. By the time the night ended, the assassins were puzzled by their luck, and Sun asked Wang if he wanted to ride the Ferris wheel with her while they watched the fireworks. He agreed, hoping for a peaceful moment with her. But the assassins followed closely behind. Zhuo noticed his master's distress and called for backup. As they ascended the Ferris wheel, fireworks lit up the sky in the distance. While he was distracted, the assassins aimed their guns at him and Sun, making them sit side by side. Sun pleaded for her friend's release, but when she referred to him as a friend, tears welled up in her eyes and she begged him to leave. Instead, he stood up with determination, using his powers to push one of the assassins away. When the other begged for mercy, he sent him flying as well. A majestic phoenix swooping down from the heavens erased all of them. As the fireworks illuminated the sky, Wang made Sun promise to keep their secret safe, using his magic to seal away her memories of that night, instead of erasing them. It was the first time he had wanted someone to truly know him, making the start of their new relationship as the fireworks continued to dazzle in the distance. The next day at school, the teacher informed Sun that the hitmen who had attacked her in the park were still alive and planning a new scheme. However, when Sun mentioned that she had no recollection of the incident, Zhuo arrived, claiming he had taken care of them the previous night. After returning from the Ferris wheel, Wang watched Sun depart before casting a spell on Zhuo, making him believe he had defeated the hitmen. Showing them a letter, Zhuo warned that the assassins were plotting to infiltrate the school to capture someone. With a snap, the gates were immediately sealed up, and the soldiers barricaded the premises. However, inside the schoolyard, a ninja called Xu Fang emerged from the ground and knocked out a security guard with a rubber chicken before pounding another. After that, he bumped 2 others together and jumped into a bush, pulling another inside, leaving several bodies piled up inside. In the hallway, a new golden phase ninja called Xu Ying arrived and blew them out of the window. As the teacher appeared before him, he warned him that he would squash him like an ant. Meanwhile, Wang was informed that he had won a free delivery pack of noodles. Hoping to claim his gift, he decided to head outside. At the same time, in the hallway, the teacher began evading a weapon. With the ninja determined to prove himself, he launched the weapon and threw another. Using a spell, he caused them to expand and erupt into an explosion. However, the teacher easily crushed the spike ball that came from it. As he began to approach him, Xu Ying cast a toxic burst and ran off using the distraction. But he bumped into the door as Wang stepped out of the office and merely walked away. In the meantime, Xu Fang had eliminated another set of security. But as he was about to leave, he saw a dog standing before him. When he tried petting him, he bit his hand, so he threw him far away, but realized that he had drained his spiritual force. At that instant, his body began to wither, and a giant frog emerged before his eyes. As he prepared a mighty blast, Xu Fang tried running away, but his spine cracked, allowing the frog to vanquish him instantly. A third ninja, Zhu Gian, emerged in the school, aiming to accumulate his formidable power and annihilate the premises. Cloaked in invisibility, he deemed himself undetectable. However, when Wang arrived outside to claim his gift, he informed him that he could see Zhu Gian as clearly as the sun. After the city heroes scanned his box, Wang finally received his gift. On his way back with his noodle pack, Zhugian attempted to deny that he had been seen, but Wang rebuked him as a useless loser, remarking that his face reeked of urine. Desperate to spare his blushes, Zhugian unleashed a mighty spell that spread across the school. As his hammer oozed with great power, he raised it high and smacked Wang, but it merely broke. The smack, however, was reflected back on his face. As Wang began pulling him away, Zhuo hurried to him, telling him that he would not forget him this time. But Wang cast a new spell on him, making him believe that he had executed the ninja. When Wang's friends came over, he pretended to be sick. Zhuo said Wang got hurt in the attack and needed help right away. Wang pretended to be sick all week, staying in bed to skip school. When his friends visited, Sun tried to give him a big shot, but Wang said he was fine and got up quickly. Soon, they gathered at the table and agreed to test their spiritual powers with a device that was given to them by their teacher to see how strong they were. Chen volunteered to go first. When he called upon his spiritual energy, a bright light ball appeared, showing his total strength. Meanwhile, in another high school, students were also taking the test. When Liang Jiang used his spiritual power, the system gave him a score of 1,950. Then their leader, Tang, demonstrated his ability. As he channeled his spiritual force, a strong wind filled the room, and his score on the system kept increasing until he reached the top position. The students cheered for him excitedly. Meanwhile, Hao could only summon a small ball and attempted to punish himself by jumping out the window, but Chen stopped him. Sun hesitated to take her test, fearing she might damage the house, but the boys convinced her to go ahead. After completing her test, the system ranked her second. When it was Wang's turn, he realized he hadn't prepared and decided to use his smallest amount of spiritual force to conceal his true abilities. As Wang began summoning his powers, the force nearly blew everyone away. As he struggled to teleport the sun he created beyond the Earth's orbit, when he finished, the system couldn't even count his score and placed him in first place. Meanwhile, in the other school, they saw Wang's name at the top of the test board and thought it was a glitch in the system, unable to believe the score. As his friends started to leave, Wang overheard Hao mentioning his plan to hack the system to boost his own low score. That night, Hao attempted to carry out this plan to lower Wang's score. He summoned a password formation scroll and cast a spell around the room, hoping to uncover the password. After his efforts, he discovered a password remained elusive, and in frustration, he tossed aside his book. However, Wang revealed that the password was simply 8 stars, and in his hacking attempt, Hao had unintentionally accessed the computer at the rival school. Meanwhile, Tang and another student attempted to hack the system themselves, but found that Wang's score was missing, and a new hacker had breached their attempt. Hao noticed Tang was now in second place and remembered how Tang used to bully him years ago. Just then, the system alarm went off and the students hurriedly tried to exit before being caught. However, a group of students entered the room and noticed Tang's name had been altered on the system. They assumed Tang had done it himself and ridiculed him for it. A few weeks later at the school, the teacher informed the instructor of his plan to send Wang and his friends to a sword competition against the rival school at Faction 59. They'd been on a losing streak for 13 years, and the teacher hoped Wang could bring them the much-needed luck to finally secure a gold medal. When the instructor mentioned they needed 5 students for the competition, Zhuo suggested that the dog fill the 5th spot. Despite doubts about the dog's eligibility, since it hadn't taken the spiritual force test, Zhuo vowed to make amends by donning the armband on the beast and promising to release the frog spirit if they won the competition. To prove his determination, the beast scored 5,000 points, elevating him to second place. That evening, after school, the boys bid Sun farewell and started to make their way home. However, that night, their teacher announced that they would have to represent the school in a sword competition and instructed them to prepare their spiritual swords for the fight. As the students displayed their special swords, they noticed Wang hadn't revealed his own. Retrieving it from the basement, the spirit of the sword emerged from the box. However, Wang dipped it back inside. The next day, he showed his friends his sword, but they felt it was way too short and weak for the battle. When the teachers arrived, they informed them that they would stay at the opposing school until the contest and train with their swords. Meanwhile, Zhuo had got some troubling news. He hurried to find out what had happened and learned that the Immortals had caught the boss of the Shadow faction that attacked their school. But it turned out to be a trick. The person they caught exploded, showing it wasn't really the boss. The real boss chuckled in her car, happy she'd got rid of an obstacle. She followed the students to Faction 59. On the bus, Wang's spirit sword has awoken, and Wang bribes him with dry ramen to stay low. On arrival, these students are received by the Faction 59's team rather coldly when their teacher, Miss Ga, who also has a rivalry with Miss Pa, evaluates Wang's force value with a trick. The trick triggers Wang's talisman of force suppression and causes a huge blast. Wang seizes the opportunity and falls while Sun rushes to cradle him. Meanwhile, Zhuo successfully neutralizes the Shadow Boss's attack and remains unharmed. Upon learning of her failure, the Shadow Boss observes Sun's affection for Wang Ling and departs with a new strategy in mind. Sun follows Wang, who is being carried inside on a stretcher, but is intercepted by Tang, sparking a taunting confrontation between the two groups. Tang mockingly assures Sun of Wang's care. As Tang speaks, Wang suddenly starts burning in purple flames. Xie acts fast and puts out the fire with bandages. Sun pulls out her sword upon seeing this. Their teacher steps in to stop her, and Xie scolds her students. On the roof, He Bufeng watches the whole thing unfold. In the infirmary, the medic discovers an empty pile of bandages. Wang has fled and contacts his father for help, who comes rushing to his assistance. They agree to meet outside. The students arrive at the competition area where He Bufeng appears and offers Sun to join them as their fifth member with a rose. However, she denies it. Chen attacks when he sees He Bufeng, but He Bufeng fights back with a strong negative force, destroying Chen's arm. As He Bufeng tries to leave Faction 59, Wang enters the arena just in time to save Chen. Ignoring He Bufeng only makes him angrier, and he tries to punch Wang. But Wang has no power. Surprisingly, Wang quickly takes He Bufeng's rose and gives it to Sun. Unbeknownst to the students, the boss of the Shadow faction hangs from the arena ceiling. Somewhere, Zhou Yi realizes the location of the Shadow boss and hurries to Faction 59. Meanwhile, in Faction 59, He Bufeng finds the Shadow boss as well and tries to charm her. When she rejects him, he insults her by calling her old. However, he soon regrets his words. Meanwhile, Wang, who has left the team to get his ramen delivery outside, walks in on He Bufeng being beaten by the Shadow boss. The Shadow boss kidnaps Wang and He Bufeng, instructing the driver to guard them. She stomps on Wang's head, provoking his negative energy and his already compromised seal. The boss devises a plan to use Wang as bait to lure Sun out, and rushes back disguised as He Bufeng to inform the others that Wang has been kidnapped. Meanwhile, He Bufeng attempts to charm his way to freedom, but he underestimates the driver, who turns out to be a powerful spirit of infantry. Inside, the imposter pretending to be Bufeng brings the news to Zhu, who deduces that the person behind Wang's kidnapping is the attractive Shadow boss. Unknowingly, Zhu's deduction charms the boss. Upon hearing this, Team 60, led by Sun, leaves with her guards. Xie advises her students to observe them in a real battle before the competition. Outside, Sun and her guards attempt to engage in combat with the driver. Bufeng calls for help, but is stomped on by the driver. Determined to save Wang Ling, Sun rises to face off with the driver alone, but is soon overpowered by the Golden Cavalry. As Sun is about to be defeated, Wang turns back time and takes care of the driver, with Zhao already present to take the credit. Then Wang leaves the real Bufeng under the care of his sword spirit. However, the Shadow Boss joins Faction 59's team. On the day of the competition, both teams enter the arena. Wang's father finally arrives, but it's too late. He's greeted by Zhao, who informs him about the broken seal. At the competition, Xiaobei's hacking leads Team 59 to land together at the Altar of Earth, and also finds everyone's location except Wang's. Hao lands in the same area as them and is eliminated by Tang. However, he survives due to the substitute dolls that sustain him. Team 59 then splits up to engage Team 60 while capturing the Altar of the Earth. He Bufeng lands near Froggy and captures the Altar of Fire, while Hao follows Liang Fei, who is heading to eliminate Wang at the Altar of Wood. At the Altar of Metal, Chen Chao loses to Xiao Bei, who deploys a nervous system interfering spell, causing him to hurt himself. She then seizes the altar, and the announcement of Faction 59's seizure is heard across the arena. Meanwhile, at the Altar of Water, Tang intercepts Sun and is joined by He Bufeng. It is revealed that the Tang and Rong families have a long-standing rivalry. Tang uses his snow-blowing trick to successfully obstruct Sun's efforts to battle. However, just as Sun is about to be defeated, a loud blow is heard, and Liang Fei is sent flying across the sky, getting eliminated. The impact of Liang Fei's fall causes the ice to break, allowing Sun to escape. Team 59 is now one member down, with Tang at the Altar of Water. He tells He Bufeng that he doesn't recognize him, but if he supports him, he'll help him achieve his desires after the competition. Upon capturing a fifth altar, Team 59 is awarded a speed-up bonus, but it halts as the announcement of 59's capture of the Altar of Wood reaches Sun's earpiece. Hao announces that Wang has merged with Froggy at the Altar of Wood. Hao fights Liang Fei using his mouth cannon spell, while Wang sits idly by, doing nothing. As Hao begins flinging insults at Wang, triggering his emotions, Wang starts to lose control of his power, and negative energy erupts. Froggy, influenced by Hao's insults, bites him to absorb his energy, but unexpectedly merges with him instead, creating a spirit being of incredible power. Wang then lightly touches Liang Fei, which sends him flying and gets him eliminated. The members of Team 59 panic as they realize they underestimated Wang. Tang comes up with a plan. He deduces that if they lost a member, they'd lose altars if they engaged with Team 60 directly, and would ultimately fall to Wang. Therefore, their top priority is to avoid Wang and keep watch over the altars while rotating. Meanwhile, Hao and Wang reach Chen and unite to seize the Altar of Metal. As they realize that Wang has turned the game around, they rejoice, and Chen hugs Wang, spreading a smile across his face. Outside, Wang's father tears up, seeing his boys smile for the first time. However, Team 50 quickly retrieves the altar, flipping the score back to 4-1. Sun arrives and decides to devise a plan to combat Team 59 and their strategy. Wang realizes he can't win the game alone with brute force. Sun, together with Hao, controls the waters and distracts Liang Zheng while attempting to take the Altar of Fire. Meanwhile, Wang reaches the Altar of Water and seizes it. At the Altar of Earth, the imposter, pretending to be He Bufeng, chuckles as he recalls his promise to ensure Team 59's victory and sets off to act. He approaches as Shen Chao guards the metal altar, and they clash once again. At the Altar of Fire, Hao and Liang Zheng battle. Hao throws a mouth cannon, but Liang Zheng trips, causing the cannon to fly by and hit Sun away from the altar she was about to cease. At this moment, Tang also arrives, seeing him. Sun is reminded of their family rivalry and refuses to lose as she tries to land a sword on the altar, but for it to be seized, she needs to be holding it and therefore fails. Tang mocks Sun over the dire situation of Team 60. He had also sent Xiao Bei over to the Altar of Water to keep an eye on Wang. At the Altar of Metal, Chen does his best to dodge He Bufeng's attacks, as advised by Sun, but eventually weakens. Desperately, he tries to stop He Bufeng. Seeing the critical situation, Hao decides to unleash his sword's mighty power. Sun's sword spirit also combines with Hao's, creating two powerful spirits. The mighty arm spirit helps Chen suppress He Bufeng, while the fire phoenix spirit blows Tang and Liang Zheng away, giving Sun victory. Tang realizes that Sun Rong is no longer the insecure girl he once knew. The announcement is made as Team 60 seizes the Altar of Fire. Surprisingly, at the same time, the announcement is made of Team 60 taking the Altar of Wood from Team 59. Team 60 is nearing victory. Seeing Team 60 triumph despite losing to a Foundation student like Chen Chao, the boss of the Shadow faction finally breaks through her disguise and realizes that Team 60's victory is due to Sun's plan. She had instructed Wang to separate from Froggy and float over to the Altar of Wood, remaining undetected, while Froggy stayed at the Altar of Water in Wang's disguise, fooling Xiao Bei, who is keeping watch. Sensing the imminent victory, Hao heads to Chen Chao at the Altar of Metal, while Sun heads towards Wang at the Altar of Wood. Wang is on the brink of his negative energy breaking out, and Froggy senses the urgency and heads towards him. Wang has always been desensitized to the world. However, Sun Rong's light, together with his friends, has revived his emotions. Wang had developed feelings for Sun, just as he's about to give up. Sun comes back, and Wang gains control again, and they grab the altar together. Meanwhile, Hao finds Chen Chao badly hurt, and the teachers get upset, wondering if they're doing enough to keep students safe. Suddenly, the shadow boss appears behind Sun and knocks her spirit out of her body. This makes Wang really angry. Froggy shows up just in time and stops time to keep Wang from losing it completely. But he breaks through and goes crazy attacking the shadow boss. Just when he's about to finish her off, he remembers Sun and snaps out of it, leaving the boss begging for mercy. Froggy explains that Sun is still alive and breathing because he stopped time. If time starts again, Sun will die. Wang Ling mourns over Sun and decides to restart the world in order to save her. He's already restarted the world 4 times. Froggy insists that changing the world won't change what's happening. Wang Ling realizes that Froggy can control time and asks him to turn it back, but it would require a huge amount of spiritual force. Wang insists that he'll pay any price to save Sun, and merges with Froggy to turn back time. Wang arrives at his first day of school again, experiencing several familiar events and having visions of Sun Rong and moments of déjà vu that confuse him. This world is different from before because the merged forces have created a new world that is destroying the old one, which will eventually cease to exist. Meanwhile, Sun enters the underworld. The god of the underworld realizes the destruction that the world will face and decides to send her back, reviving her. Long Ling's spirit sword explains everything to Sun, and they decide to destroy the new world to save the old one. In the new world, Wang Ling goes to heavenly paradise, but feels overwhelmingly empty. As Sun creates cracks in his world, he suddenly remembers her, and she manages to destroy his world, waking him up. They are reunited. Time turns back, bringing everyone back into the games. This time, Wang knocks out the shadow boss before things spiral out of control. Faction 60 celebrates their victory, and Sun is well. She rushes over to Wang, but they are stopped by the interviewers. Wang's father finally arrives with the talisman, but Wang has a choice to make. He can accept the talisman and go back to having dormant emotions, or he can have a relationship with Sun. And he chooses to put back the seal. And that's the end of the video. As always, if you liked the video, please subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading a lot of videos just like this, so I'll see you at the next one. Bye!